I want to have a gym battle too. The words are out of Serena's mouth before she can give them a second thought, and from the look on Ash, Licia, and Brock's faces, they are as shocked as she is at this bold declaration. Brock is the first to recover, his gym leader training allowing him to slip into an easy grin, and he says that he would be happy to face her, though it will have to be tomorrow morning, since even with Nurse Joy's healing, 3 back-to-back battles would be far too fatiguing on his Pokemon. Serena agrees, and so the pair set a time for the following day, before the travelling trio bid Brock good evening, and leave the gym. At the Pokemon Center, Ash, Serena, and Licia settle in for an early night, grabbing dinner at the cafeteria. When they are seated, Ash asks Serena what inspired her to do the gym challenge, since when they talked about it before she wasn't all that interested. Serena agrees that she wasn't, but after seeing how in sync he and Licia were with their Pokemon during their battles, she knew she had to try it for herself, since maybe it could be the dream she's still searching for. Ash beams that this is great, and offers to help however he can, while Licia says she's proud of her for broadening her horizons, and teases that if she starts doing gyms and contests, that'll make them rivals on 2 fronts. Serena thanks them both for their encouragement, admitting that she worried they'd think it was silly for her to do gyms like them, but both her friends promptly decry this, saying that if anything they're excited and will be cheering her on tomorrow. As a result, dinner is an overwhelmingly joyous affair, with Ash and Licia both in high spirits over their victories, while Serena is excited at the prospect of getting a win of her own in the morning. When all 3 of them feel like they could not eat another bite, Ash and Licia then turn their attention back to Serena, asking if she would like to train with either of them before bed. However, Serena gives her second shocking declaration of the evening, announcing that she's actually going to train alone for a little while, so that she doesn't ruin the surprise for either of them. Ash and Licia are a little put off by this, but respect their friend's wishes, and so after wishing her good luck, head up to their rooms. It is morning before either of them see Serena again, and from what Ash and Licia can see when they join her for breakfast, she is raring to go. This excitement lasts all the way up to the gym, and when they arrive, Serena takes her place on the challengers' side of the battlefield, while Brock wastes no time doing the same on his end, interested to see how the quiet girl from yesterday fares in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Ash and Licia have taken their places in the stands, wondering what Serena's big surprise is, and if it really has what it takes to beat Brock. Like with both of them, Brock opens the battle with Geodude, while Serena starts off with Eevee. Brock offers her the first move, and Serena graciously accepts, ordering a quick attack, but at the last moment, having Eevee switch to a double kick. This results in 2 brutal kicks empowered by the speed of a quick attack, which sends Geodude reeling, while Eevee executes another quick attack to dart out of the rock type's reach. Geodude then attempts a Haymaker punch, but thanks to Eevee's hit and run tactics, this shot goes wide, allowing Eevee to dart back in and double kick again, sending it into a wall this time. In the audience, Ash and Licia both give each other a look, wondering if Serena's actually doing better than either of them, while Serena has Eevee follow Geodude and try to keep it pinned. However, this proves to be an error, with Geodude recovering while Eevee is still closing in, and so when the evolution Pokemon leaps up for another double kick, Geodude thrusts its arm out and delivers a devastating clothesline as it rushes forward, dragging Eevee along the ground before slamming it into a rock. A dust cloud obscures Eevee, and the trio fear the worst, but then the determined little Pokemon scampers out and growls at its opponent, ready to resume the fight. Though it seems Serena has other ideas, as she recalls her starter, and to everyone's surprise calls out Metapod. With an attempt at tact, Licia asks if Serena's really thought through this choice, suggesting that it's not too late to bring Eevee back. But Serena refuses, saying she knows exactly what she's doing, before calling for a string shot. Metapod obeys, shooting ropes of sticky string in all directions, and creating a crisscross pattern in the air. However, during this time Geodude has not been stationary, and since its opponent will not attack it, Brock has ordered it to charge in and hit Metapod with a Mega Punch. Weaving between the threads, Geodude closes in on the bug type, and as soon as it is within range, swings down with a Mega Punch. The impact is hard to watch, as the sedentary green Pokemon takes the full force of the hit without any form of defense. But what is even worse is the sound that accompanies it. A cracking sound, followed by a rattling that suggests Geodude's attack has done serious internal damage. Licia and Ash both call out Metapod's name in shock, while Brock's face is one of worry and guilt, and he raises Geodude's ball, ready to call off the battle so they can go get Metapod the medical attention it surely needs. But Serena chirpily tells him not to look so sad, since Geodude did them a big favour. Everyone looks at her with bewildered expressions, so the girl presses on, telling them to look at Metapod more closely. The others do so, and as they expected, a jagged crack has shredded Metapod's carapace almost in half. But what surprises them is the movement they can see through the crack. Something inside Metapod is pushing up against the hole, and with another louder crack, it finally manages to split the shell open, allowing a beautiful Butterfree to burst forth. Serena beams that, like she said, the attack helped them, explaining that Butterfree had been trying to get out of its chrysalis since last night, but lacked the strength to break through, so that punch finally gave it a way to break free. Butterfree seems just as delighted as its trainer and so does a little victory lap, screeching its delight as it goes. Sheepishly, Brock rubs the back of his head, admitting that he was afraid he'd badly hurt Butterfree, but Serena shakes her head, causing the gym leader to ask if she's ready to return to the battle. Serena says she is, and so combat resumes. Now with aerial maneuvers on its side, Butterfree is a much greater challenge for Geodude, dodging and weaving between its punches while adding in tackles of its own for good measure. Though these do little damage individually, even the gentle wind can wear down stone with enough time, and thanks to this hit and run strategy, time is on its side. Finally, one lucky tackle is able to hit Geodude in a vulnerable point, and it goes hurtling into the ground. After its bouts with both Butterfree and Eevee, it seems that the rock type is at its limit, and so the victory is given to Butterfree. Next up is Onix, and here Butterfree changes its tactics, having learned from Beedrill the dangers of Rock Throw. Serena therefore has it getting close, and pepper Onix with tackles, darting in and out in a way that forces Onix to keep lurching forward in an attempt to deliver its own tackles. Though Butterfree is fast, no one's luck lasts forever, and so one of these tackles from the Rock Snake eventually manages to hit it in the wing, causing it to veer off course and right into the danger zone of a Rock Throw. Still trying to figure out how to compensate for the damaged wing, Butterfree is unable to avoid the incoming ball of stone, and so with a squish very reminiscent of Beedrill's, the Rock Throw collects the bug type and sends it careening into a wall. When it is declared unable to battle, Serena returns Butterfree to its ball and brings out Eevee to finish the job. Like against Geodude, she starts with a quick attack double kick combo, though this time, instead of telling it to retreat after the hit, she tells Eevee to climb the Rock Snake. Eevee barks its understanding, and then to the wonderment of everyone watching, it begins to run vertically up the side of Onix. Brock asks how this is possible, and Serena explains that this is why she had Butterfree use String Shot as a Metapod, so that as Onix moved, it would get coated in the sticky threads, making its rocky skin mildly adhesive. Not enough to trap Eevee if they made contact, but just enough that it could support the evolution Pokemon's weight. Brock can't help but be impressed by this cleverly laid plan, though even so, he has no intention of lying down and giving Serena the victory, so as Eevee makes its way up Onix's side, he calls for a bind attack, and the Rock Snake twists itself around the normal type and halts its rise. Serena calls for a double kick, hoping that this will allow Eevee to push itself out, but now it seems that her trap for Brock has backfired, as the stickiness of Onix's skin only makes it harder to escape. Seeing no alternative, Serena yells to her partner Pokemon that they will have to pull out their trump card earlier than they planned. Eevee yips its agreement, then with a look of determination, bathes itself in golden light. In the stands, Ash and Licia gasp in unison, recognizing Golden Tackle and the power it possesses, but also knowing that when Eevee uses that, it always faints directly after. Hoping that their friend has thought this through, they watch as the increased strength that is gained from this attack finally allows Eevee to burst free, and even slam into the underside of Onix's face, before dropping back down to the ground. Landing softly thanks to a tail whip spin, Eevee still looks pretty exhausted after that move, though Onix is certainly in no great state either after taking that hit. However, neither Pokemon falls, much to the spectators' surprise, and Serena reveals that this was the other big surprise she had in store. Thanks to a lot of hard work, Eevee now has just enough stamina that it can keep fighting, even after it has used Golden Tackle once. Ash tells Serena that this is awesome, while Licia calls out that she looks forward to putting Golden Tackle to the test in their next battle. Brock, however, has no words for his challenger, focusing entirely on Eevee and telling Onix to finish it off with a tackle. Onix roars and so throws itself at the little fox, while Serena tells Eevee to counter with a double kick. Eevee in turn leaps up and slaps Onix's face with its two back paws, but due to its failing strength, these attacks don't do as much as they could, and instead Eevee is thrown up in the air. As it flails, Brock tells Onix to tackle again, and so the rock snake leaps up into the air after Eevee, giving the smaller Pokemon no chance to dodge. Since double kick didn't work, and Eevee probably can't afford to take another hit with the state it's in, Serena sees only one response, and so gritting her teeth, tells Eevee to meet that tackle head on with a golden tackle of its own. Once more the little normal type is bathed in a golden aura, though this time instead of leaping away from Onix, it throws itself headlong at the rock snake, causing the two to have a head-on collision before Eevee shoots past Onix and lands behind it. Onix lands moments later, and briefly the two Pokemon stand facing in opposite directions, each breathing heavily under the weight of their fatigue. Then in unison, they fall. And just like that, the match is over, with the official ruling being double knockout. Serena rushes in to cradle Eevee and thank it for its hard work, while Ash and Licia come over and say that her battle style is really impressive, and even if she didn't win, it's clear she's learned a lot since the Viridian contest. Brock then makes his way over to Serena, and with a smile, says that that was an amazing battle, and he's proud that the last Boulder badge he will ever hand out as the Pewter Gym Leader is going to her. Serena looks up in confusion, saying that she thought a trainer had to beat the gym leader to earn a badge, but Brock smiles that in the case of ties, it comes down to a gym leader's discretion, and he believes she earned it. Gratefully, Serena replies that she is honoured, but if this is really to be his last battle as the gym leader, she would rather he hold onto that Boulder badge as a keepsake. Brock nods and promises to always treasure it, while Ash cuts in, asking why Brock is giving up on being the gym leader here. Brock explains that he was never really the gym leader to begin with, and he has simply been filling in during his father's long absence, but recently, Flint got back into contact with Brock, and so as of today he was meant to resume his position as the true leader of the Pewter Gym. However, after seeing how much Serena wanted to battle him, he decided to postpone his journey so they could have their match. Serena thanks Brock for this generous gesture, with Licia adding that it really was very sweet of him to do it. Unfortunately, this sets hearts in Brock's eyes, and he declares that he would do anything to see Licia smile, until Cosplay Pikachu bursts from its ball and zaps Brock, shutting him down. Coming back to his senses after this shock, Brock tells the trio that now that he's had his final battle, he's going to travel and follow his own dream of being the world's greatest Pokemon breeder, but he hopes to see them all again. Ash and Serena then both suggest that if he's going to travel, why doesn't he join them on their journey? Licia adds that it would be nice to have someone a little closer to her own age to talk to, and this seems to make Brock's mind up, with him saying that he would be happy to join them. As a result, it is a newly formed 4-man band that leaves Pewter City an hour later, ready to begin the next chapter in their adventure. However, instead of hiking through Mount Moon, our heroes decide to travel further north to the small town of Rota near Cameron Palace, which according to Licia is hosting a Pokemon contest in a few days. Serena and Licia both express their desire to enter, though Ash says he will sit this one out, since though the contest was fun before, he'd rather use this time to train for his next gym battle. Brock on the other hand says that he'll be happy to watch and cheer the girls on. During the next few days of their journey to Rota, Brock quickly establishes himself as an integral member of their group, not only as a skilled cook and navigator, but also through the bonds he begins to form with the other three. For Serena, he is a cooking buddy, and the duo quickly become a force to be reckoned with Brock handling dinner while Serena manages dessert, much to the delight of Licia and Ash, while he also has a fascination with her Eevee and its unique golden tackle move, and so spends hours in the evening studying it, while also passing on helpful care tips that make Eevee's already glossy coat shine. As for Ash, Brock becomes a coach and big brother figure, sharing his experiences as a gym leader to help the young man improve his battling technique. As a result, the pair are often seen having training battles at night, or quick warm-ups in the morning before getting back on the road. As for Licia, the pair quickly come to realize that they have a lot in common, both having grown up around gyms, and both having developed similar dreams of wanting to raise Pokemon that are the best they can be. However, at times Cosplay Pikachu does still need to make an appearance and give Brock a good jolt or two when his amorous overtures become overbearing. Finally, after several days on the road, the group reach Rota and are able to register for the contest with little issue. Afterwards, while checking in at the Pokemon Center, they also learn that in a few days' time, a battle tournament will be taking place up in the palace, which Ash excitedly declares his intent to enter. Though Serena is unsure if she will enter as well, this news does perk her up, and she suggests that since Ash will get lots of training during the tournament, he could take a day off tomorrow and come to watch her perform. Ash is hesitant, since if anything the news of the tournament has made him want to train more, but Brock cuts in, saying that they'll both be there, before pulling Ash aside and telling him that when a girl asks him to be there for her like this, it's his job as a man to give his full support. Ash gives his new friend a look that suggests he doesn't have a clue what Brock is talking about, but nonetheless, he agrees to watch Licia and Serena in the contest. The next morning, the group make their way to the contest hall, with the boys heading to the stands while the girls head backstage to prepare. This time, Serena is the first to perform in the appeals round, and she decides to open with her Butterfree. As the bug flying type takes to the air, Serena calls for it to use Stun Spore and Sleep Powder, switching between the two attacks rapidly in order to create a trail of blue and gold powder that drifts behind Butterfree like a cape. This is already enough to impress the crowd, but then it begins its routine. On Serena's command, Butterfree takes off around the stage, diving and soaring, performing spins and loop-de-loops that all leave behind blue and gold glitter in its wake. It is enough to have the crowd oohing and aahing, but this is nothing compared to how they respond to the finale. When Butterfree has done a full lap of the stage, Serena has it return to the center and use Gust. All around it, wind whips up, catching the remnants of the Sleep Powder and Stun Spore, and spreading them throughout the air, so that as Butterfree lands, the entire stage appears to be bathed in diamond dust. Backstage, Licia applauds along with everyone else, though she also makes a vow that she won't allow her rival to get ahead of her. Only one person is not impressed by Serena's performance, and that is the coordinator who follows her out onto the stage, a woman in a vest and parachute pants, who calls herself Jessadora. Jessadora then brings out her Ekans before pulling out a flute and beginning to play a screeching cacophony of notes that cannot truly be called a tune. The audience reaction is seemingly unanimous, with most covering their ears, and even poor Ekans slithering away as fast as it can. Screaming furiously, Jessadora chases after the snake Pokemon, and all assembled are more than happy to see her go, with Mr. Sukizo summing things up best by calling that performance not even a little bit remarkable. Several more coordinators follow, each giving their best performances, before finally it is time for Licia to take the stage. Like Serena, she chooses not to use the Pokemon she used in the previous appeal, and so brings out Ali the Swablu. As the flying type takes to the air, Licia calls for multiple disarming voices, and at once, Ali begins to sing, manifesting each note as an individual ring of pink energy. As each ring fades, a new one is created to take its place, and so a tune begins to form. But then Licia shakes things up by ordering Ali to switch to round. This time a ring of white light appears rather than pink, but unlike before it doesn't fade, instead repeating over and over at regular intervals. Several more rounds follow, repeating the pattern the little Swablu had built up with its disarming voices, but even here Licia is not done, and so by having her Pokemon return to disarming voice, it is actually able to sing harmony with itself, while the rounds carry the already established melody line. This makes for an auditory marvel, but is perhaps a little dull visually, and so seeking to rectify this, Licia finishes up by having Ali swoop through the rings of sound, dissipating them, and allowing the song to end on a glorious crescendo. Everyone goes wild for this clever performance, and so Licia and Ali take a bow to thunderous applause. After this, it's only a matter of time until the judges announce the 4 coordinators moving on to the battle stage. And to the surprise of no one, both Licia and Serena are among them. Licia's match is first this time, and she brings out her Pikachu, while her opponent chooses to battle with a Gligar. Knowing about Gligar's severe weakness to Ice-type moves, Licia wastes no time fitting Pikachu with the dress and bonnet it wore during the battle with Brock, and so tells it to open with Icicle Crash. Pikachu obeys and begins spitting shards of ice at the flying ground type, which in turn causes Gligar to take flight in an attempt to dodge them. This unfortunately hurts Licia's points, as her attack has given Gligar a chance to show off its acrobatic ability, and so as Gligar soars through the air, its trainer has it swoop down and blast Pikachu with Sand Attack. Against such mobility and speed, Pikachu is helpless, and so takes a cloud of sand to the face, which only hinders its aim more. At this point, it almost feels like Gligar and its trainer are mocking Lyssia and Pikachu, since with each missed Icicle Crash, Lyssia's points drop a little bit more, while the Gligar trainers remain relatively untouched. To make matters worse, every so often Gligar swoops down for another sand attack, and even when Pikachu manages to leap out of the way, it still makes the ground type harder to hit with all the sand in the air obscuring their view. Finally, at the 1 minute mark, Gligar's trainer declares that it's time for this battle to end, and so calls for their finishing move, Sand Tomb. At once, all the sand in the air converges on Pikachu, and though the electric type tries to run, there is no escape from something filling the entire stage. As sand begins to coat Pikachu's skin, it finds itself unable to move the affected areas as though they were frozen. This of course makes running and dodging even harder, and so in almost no time at all, Cosplay Pikachu's entire body is encased in a layer of sand, turning it into a perfect sand sculpture. Desperately, Lyssia calls for a Pokemon to break free, but either due to the sand having a sound dampening effect, or simply because it lacks the strength to obey this command, Pikachu gives no response, and this failure costs Lyssia the remainder of her points. In the crowd and backstage, Ash, Serena and Brock are all speechless, not sure how to fully comprehend their friend's one-sided defeat. And when Lyssia takes her seat beside the boys to watch Serena's match, they give her their best consoling smiles. However, Lyssia seems mostly unfazed by her loss, adopting a more easygoing, you win some you lose some attitude, and expressing far greater interest in showing her support for Serena. And as it turns out, Serena's match could not be more different from Lyssia's. Her opponent this time is the real youngster Joey, having been issued a new contest pass after Team Rocket stole his back in Viridian City. When it comes time to begin, he doesn't bring out any Pokemon, and instead begins grandstanding about how his Rattata is in the top percentage of Rattata, going on for so long that the judges issue him with a red card, which halves his points for wasting time. It is only then that he brings out the much spoken of Rattata, and to Serena's eyes, it honestly looks kinda puny. Nonetheless, she knows better than to judge a book by its cover, and so orders Butterfree to start things off with a gust. Joey tells Rattata to counter with a Hyper Fang, but before it can do any such thing, it is lifted off its feet, and when it lands with a flop, it is unconscious. Serena can't help but feel bad for Joey as he is led off stage with his Rattata in his arms, but there is no time to dwell on such things, as now it is time to face the trainer that defeated Lyssia. The finals of the Rota contest begin with Serena choosing to give Butterfree a rest, and so bringing out Eevee, while her opponent decides to rely on Gligar again. At once, Gligar swoops down in an attempt to repeat its sand attack strategy, but Serena has a counter in place, telling Eevee to use Tail Whip and bat the sand back at Gligar's eyes. This shocks the Fly Scorpion Pokemon, and so while blinded by a face full of sand, it misjudges the angle of its descent and comes crashing into the ground close to Eevee. Between having its own attack turned back on it, and the less than graceful nature of Gligar's landing, its trainer's points are severely hurt by this exchange, and Serena begins to think that she can actually win this. That is until Eevee lets out a pained scream, as Gligar's barbed tail shoots out and stabs it in the leg with Poison Sting. A purplish rash then forms under Eevee's eyes, and the young girl knows she's on a time limit. Briefly, she considers using Golden Tackle, but thinks better of it, since with Eevee's stamina already falling thanks to the poison, a stamina-intensive move like that might be enough to knock it out cold. And so, seeing no other choice, she calls for a quick attack. This attack strikes true, and thanks to Brock's grooming tips, Eevee looks majestic as it surges forward, costing her opponent a few more points along the way, but as Gligar is sent flying, it uses this to recover and take flight once more, damaging Serena's points in the process. It then attempts to use range to its advantage, firing off a barrage of mud bombs, but Serena has Eevee respond to these just as it did to the sand attack, batting them back with Tail Whip. Though none of these reflected attacks actually hit Gligar this time, Serena can see that this counter has put its trainer on the back foot, and so with no other ideas, they call for another Poison Sting. As a result, Gligar dives in, its stinger at the ready, and knowing that the Tail Whip defense won't do any good here, Serena tells her Pokemon to leap out of the way, then use Tail Whip to fly. Eevee obeys, and this cuts deeper into her opponent's points, but in doing so, it also leaves Eevee exposed, With its tail now engaged in keeping the normal type aloft, it can't be used to deflect attacks, and Gligar capitalizes on this, hitting Eevee first in the underbelly with a mud bomb, before moving on to a sand attack which clings to the sticky mud, as well as getting in Eevee's eyes. Thankfully, it is not blinded like Gligar was, but its vision is still impeded, and so it is unable to dodge the follow-up poison sting, which pierces its stomach. The pain from this new dose of poison throbs in unison with the poison already pulsing through Eevee's veins, and between the two of them, it is enough to temporarily stun the little Pokemon, causing it to stop spinning its tail and crash down into the ground. As the normal type tries to get back to its feet, Gligar takes this opportunity to blast it with more sand, and by the time Eevee is standing again, it is covered in the gritty substance. The Gligar trainer then gives a thumbs down, and this seems to be the signal for Sand Tomb, as just like against Licia, the sand begins to swirl and converge on Eevee. However, Serena has an advantage that Licia didn't, and having seen this trick once before, she tries the only thing she can think of to beat it: Quick Attack. Before the sand can settle and stiffen, Eevee takes off, causing the sand coating it to be blown away in the form of a dusty afterimage. But sadly, this is not enough to fully escape from the finishing move, and as Eevee runs, the cloud of sand gives chase, while a self-satisfied Gligar watches from the air. Eevee tries its very best to evade the oncoming sand, but each stumble due to fatigue or poison allows it to gain on Eevee, while also costing Serena precious points. Looking up at the battle clock, Serena sees the time is almost up, and the two coordinators are roughly neck and neck with points, meaning that whatever happens next will probably decide the outcome of the match and the entire contest. Refusing to lose, Serena racks her brain for any way to pull out a victory here, all the while the sand is drawing ever closer, and with it, the promise of defeat. However, this grim thought gives her an idea, and so with no time to spare, she tells Eevee to run underneath Gligar then jump. Drawing on the last reserves of its strength, Eevee does exactly that, passing under its opponent, then leaping into the air as soon as Gligar is behind it. This move baffles the audience, and Serena's friends hope there's some greater plan at play as the countdown enters its final 10 seconds. But then, all becomes clear as the homing Sand Tomb rises in an attempt to catch Eevee, but being slightly behind, catches Gligar instead. Hit head-on by its own attack, Gligar is turned into a sand sculpture just like Cosplay Pikachu was, and this reversal is enough to wipe out the remainder of the Gligar trainer's points, just as the buzzer sounds, signifying the end of the match and Serena's first contest victory. As Eevee collapses in a heap, clearly spent after that battle, Serena runs in and gives it a big hug, thanking it for everything. The crowd then applaud her as Lillian steps forward and presents Serena with the Rota ribbon. Even half an hour later, when Serena has reunited with her friends and returned to the Pokemon Center, she has not stopped beaming, and it seems quite possible that she will continue to smile all night long. That is until a voice she and Ash know well pipes up behind them and says, "You really are a natural coordinator, Serena. I saw your Viridian performance on TV and it was amazing too. Too bad I can't say the same for you, Ashy boy." And that's where we'll leave things. What does the return of this old face mean for Ash and Serena? How will his presence impact the upcoming tournament? And where will our heroes find themselves afterwards? Find out when the journey continues.